Hey there, good morning everyone. Wednesday, the 21st of June, 2023. Today's a special day because today sees the changing of the seasons. Today in the southern hemisphere, it is known as the winter solstice. So it is the longest night and the shortest day. Not that that helps any because the day's work is still there to do. But for those of us who are not great fans of winter, well, summer is rolling on closer and it's coming closer. So that's some good news. However, this morning's devotional is a reading from Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 6, which reads, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." If I had to say to you that we are all afraid of people, would you agree with that? Some people might very bravely say, "I fear no man," while others would readily admit that they are fearful of people. But have you ever noticed that each time God or an angel appeared to people in the Bible, what their first words were? Do not fear or fear not. It is said, and according to Google, that fear not appears something like 365 times in Scripture. Well, for me, if it appears just once, it is important. People are fearful of others because we do not know what to expect, or because, as is generally the case, others use fear or threats to subdue the larger crowds and force compliance. One needs to be careful also that one does not become arrogant when standing before a group of people or even crowds. Remember, it is God that we are representing to them. Paul reminds us in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 20, that we are ambassadors for Christ. So we need and we represent him to others. Moses, just shortly before his death, was addressing young Joshua as he was about to take over the leadership of the Hebrews. Now, I think we can all understand the fear that it must have engulfed this young man, now having received the baton to lead over 2 million rebellious people who griped about the smallest issue. Yet he was told not to be afraid or to be terrified of them. Jeremiah the prophet is another one who was fearful, yet he was told by God in Jeremiah 1 chapter 1 verse 8, "Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you and will rescue you." A story from myself when I first thought of entering into ministry. It's always good to do a test run. So one Sunday morning, many years ago, in a small little town by the name of Ermelo, it's down there in Mpumalanga. It's very cold in winter there. Oh, I tell you, it's cold there. Anyway, the lay ministers at that stage were Hazel and Richard Goodfellow, who were ministering at the little chapel there. I forget what the name is. But anyway, so they dragged me up there, I mentioned to them, and they got me all dressed up. And I stood in front of the congregation to read from the Old Testament reading. It was a reading from Malachi. And I was terrified. My knees were banging against each other out of fear. Fortunately, no one could see this because I had a robe on. And to make matters even worse, here I go and mispronounce the name Malachi. I said Malachi or some other weird name like that. But it was really a scary experience. Then I gradually learned that it was not in my own strength, or rather my ways, but God's ways and the strength he gives us to accomplish the work he has set before us. My dear friends, while it is natural to be nervous or anxious when dealing with others, know this one thing: do not fear people, for if they are against you, then they are against God as well, whom you represent. Be strong at all times and do not fear. Remember, fear robs you of your joy. May the Lord be with you. May he bless you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be with you always. Goodbye.